What's up, guys? It's Chris Rob bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of your vehicles. On today's show, we're going to just concentrate on layoffs. As you can see, I'm not dressed as I normally do. I've been under the weather lately. That's why I didn't do my standard show on Wednesday. So this is a follow-up show because I have to stay consistent as doing the show. You know, I want to make sure the people who do tune into me get a show every day, or pretty much, no, I'm sorry, every Wednesday and Sunday. But of course, I was extremely sick yesterday, just got out the hospital, so I didn't do a show yesterday. So here I am on Thursday, still a little bit under the weather, but this is an important topic that we had to jump on today, okay? So what we're talking about today is layoffs, and not only talking about the fact that a large majority of these layoffs are based on just particular companies and their desire for greed, but a large majority of these layoffs are based around AI and the whole situation I've been telling you guys for so long about Skynet being real. Because it is real, let's face it. We have to understand that the launches of what we learned that Skynet was through the Terminator movies and all of these type of things was just pretty much AI being put into our systems and learning to the point that it decides that we as humans are the problem. And the fact is, we as humans are the problem. And I'm going to start off this by talking about the fact that we are the problem, because a lot of these layoffs that we're seeing is just going to be corporate greed and a desire to put us in a position where we just completely and utterly get rid of the middle class. I mean, we're going to a point where, most it's going to be either the extremely poor people and then there's going to be the extremely rich people, and there's just going to be no middle class whatsoever, which is going to be a major problem for the world, because the middle class is what does a lot of jobs, and most of those jobs are just going away magnificently. I mean, over the last week, we've seen layoffs everywhere. I mean, everywhere. And we're going to touch on a lot of, videos that talk about the layoffs. And this is probably going to be the longest show we do, just because there's a couple of long videos in here that I really want you guys to check out. So let's just get started. First off, we're going to start with what the Car Concierge with Stanley talk about is layoffs at GM. And why are we not surprised that GM is having layoffs? They're having problems with their EV vehicles, selling their EV vehicles. But GM had a good quarter. GM made very good money, but they're still deciding to lay off a lot of people. So let's start with that story on layoffs, and we'll keep going after that.
Already been laid off as the company started to pull back on EV production. All 3,200 workers will be impacted in some way here. All shifts will be laid off until November 24th. That's when workers will return to work until January 5th. The indefinite layoffs then take effect after January 5th.
See, the first start. Now, is it those employees' fault that GM jumped on the bandwagon when it came to EVs and started throwing everything at EVs, which we understood why they did it. I mean, all of these states were coming out saying that, after a couple of years, EVs is going to be only vehicles on the streets. And we all kind of knew that was a lie. Most people that didn't understand that was a lie, and we didn't, and no one foresee us having the infrastructure to have such a thing going on by 2030 or whatever the estimated time was. But all automakers did this. They just decided that they were going to follow that track, and they're going to throw lots and lots of money into EV production and EV vehicles, and turn certain factories into EV factories, all to come out to the point where once Donald Trump became president and started getting rid of the EV incentives and people start really driving EVs, and you're seeing if they really like them or not, deciding that they don't like them as much as they like gas powered vehicles, deciding that they understand that the infrastructure is not set up for a person to continuously drive an EV all the time because of long distance trips or things like that. So it is ultimately the automakers' fault that they're making all these massive layoffs. But my problem is that they had good quarters when it came to these things, and my major problem with this is why now? I mean, there's no doubt that they're having certain issues when it comes to the EVs and getting the sales and getting, compensation back from all the EV production that they put in. But why are they hurting these employees now? Right before Thanksgiving, right before Christmas. Why is the choice to do this now is my problem. And it's my major problem with the majority of these layoffs that we're going to look at today. But why now? Why would you make these layoffs at this time, at this particular time? We already have the government shutdown going on. We already have people not getting paid because they work for the government, which is a major problem, which is another thing that I don't understand is happening before Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I understand that this is one of those political things where, the Democrats are deciding that they don't want to, open the government back up because they want this health care thing. And, oh man, it's just so much a problem that we allow these entities to put us in these positions. You know what I mean? It's why. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and get into some political talk about why the government still shut down and who is making sure that it stays shut down so they can get certain things. But the fact that these two groups that haven't come together, realizing that all these people are losing, all these people are losing money, all these people are going on furloughs, the whole EBT situation where people are not going to get their EBT right before Thanksgiving, right before Christmas, all based off of two groups of people not being able to get together and make a decision. And it's the ultimate problem I have with politics. The ultimate problem I have with a lot of things is that we just don't foresee the other person's side, and we can't. Why we lost this ability to look at people and not as Republicans or Democrats, and look at people not as EBT holders or people who pay taxes. We have to look at us as a complete group, and we have to work together as a complete group to make sure everybody is taken care of in a way that works for everybody in their situation. If you're not a person that has a job or anything like that, you have health problems, you're going to need EBT. You're going to need food stamps. You're going to need Section 8, whatever that is. And I understand that. I totally understand that. Disabled people, elderly people, they need these things. And I understand that is the main fight going on with politics and on the internet and everything. But my thing is that why are these two groups, and let's face it, the groups that are making the decisions and working against each other are not the people who are not getting paid. Politicians are getting paid all of their money, but not even the military. I saw an article today, even the military might not get its money for November. And that is a massive problem, people. How can we let these things happen when it comes to politics? How can we let these things happen to people that we love who, and I'm talking, I'm not talking about those people who have the ability to work and have the ability to support themselves and just decided that they're going to live off Section 8 and EBT. That's not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about those people who are disabled, elderly, sickly, whatever the case may be, those people who definitely need these kinds of systems to support themselves, in the end. You people who are out there who could work, this is a big statement that I'm going to say about this whole situation, and I'm going to go back to the layoffs. I'm not talking about food stamps per se. I'm in this instance, I'm talking specifically about Section 8, okay? And this is what I'm going to say. Section 8 as a entity is one of those entities that most people have to get on a waiting list to get Section 8. Section 8 is not available to everybody. Food stamps to some degree is pretty much available to everybody depending on your financial status, okay? Section 8, same thing, is depending on your financial status, but it is only so much money that can be given out for Section 8, okay? So there's massive waiting lists in most states for people to get on Section 8. And my major problem with Section 8 is the idea that a mother of 3 could be on the waiting list for a Section 8 housing, and a young man or woman with no children at a viable working age who definitely can viably work is in a Section 8 home. That is something that I don't think should happen. I don't think that there should be any situation where there is a mother out there with several children who rightfully so needs Section 8, and there's a man or woman who is able-bodied, who is not sickly, disabled, or elderly, that is in a Section 8 home and living freely. That, for me, is the massive problem when it comes to Section 8. Food stamps is a different story. I think food stamps is pretty much readily available to anybody who is gone, has, gotten down on their luck and need some food to support themselves. But the point that they're taking the EBT away in November is crazy. I think it is crazy. And I think that the fact that you are allowing this to happen, and the way you're allowing it to happen is you're just disagreeing with another party, is horrible. Okay? So let's keep going. We're going to talk about a lot of layoffs today. There was also, GM also had a layoff at a local battery plant over in Ohio. And I do have a major problem with the fact that this is affecting so much of us people that are from or in the Midwest. Let's check this out.
Vehicle sales have dropped ever since federal tax credits for EV buyers expired. Now, that slowdown is creating major ripple effects where EV batteries are made. And for General Motors, that's in Trumbull County.
Absolute disappointment. I had hoped better for this facility.
The Ultium Cells plant is now bracing for hundreds of layoffs. According to reports, GM plans to cut 550 jobs permanently. Another 850 workers will face temporary layoffs. Production stops January 5th and could stay idle through May.
I want it to stay open. It is one of I think it is our largest employer in Lordstown and in the surrounding areas. It's one of the larger ones. And so this affects a lot of people.
GM says it's part of a nationwide pullback in EV production. Demand just hasn't grown as fast as expected. And that hits hard here, where Ultium was meant to mark Lordstown's comeback after the old GM assembly line closed. The mayor says a big portion of revenue comes from Ultium Cells, and that impact will be felt.
But luckily, we do have some diversity in Lordstown now as far as businesses are concerned, and so it won't be as detrimental as it was when General Motors closed in 2019.
At the same time, there's also talk of a new project in Lordstown. A developer wants to build a multi-billion-dollar data center in the area that could bring in jobs and more money. But Village Council is looking at a ban on data centers. The mayor says she wants to be sure any new business truly benefits the community.
You definitely want to make sure that these businesses are not coming in at the expense of the residents.
Council is set to meet November 3rd when they could vote on that proposed data center ban or table it for more discussion in light of today's announcement. We'll continue to follow any new developments in this major local story. You can read.
Now, okay, so you already understand that you're about to lose several jobs when they cut all these jobs from the Ultium Cells plant, and you have a ban on data centers. What's the problem with look? Are you in a position to turn down more jobs in your area? Are you really in a position to do that? I don't understand why a data center would hurt you. I mean, you literally telling me that 500 and something employees are about to lose their jobs, but you're not going to bring more jobs in. Now, the young lady mayor there said that they had some things going, and it looks like things are going to look up. But there's see, here's the thing, guys. We understand, and I don't know if this is as true as it was when I was younger, but these factory jobs were the jobs you wanted when I was a kid. When I was a kid, these factory jobs was the jobs you wanted. They were secure. You know, you had the UAW that was gonna make sure you didn't get fired. You know, you was getting paid top dollar. I mean, majority of people who where I'm from back in Indiana, people were working at the UAW plant. They were people because it wasn't a UAW plant, but it was the U-Haul plant, but it was a UAW facility. So it was a U-Haul plant. My grandmother worked there for a really long time. I think I talked about that. And she made good money working at that plant and raised a family, you know, bought some property, you know, did really, really well. And a lot of people who worked at the plant did really, really well. And now that I think about it, back then, most families who had parents that worked in a factory or any of these other jobs, they were living fairly good lives. They were in homes. And of course, back then it was a lot different. Homes were a lot cheaper, you know, so, and I could say that we lived in the hood technically, but it didn't feel like the hood because everybody owned their homes. Everybody kept their homes up and made us kids keep their homes up. And it was a beautiful thing because these people had factory jobs. They had secure factory jobs. They were covered by the UAW. They brought home great pay. They took care of everything. When did that die off? When did that go away? I've talked so many times on my show about the layoffs. We've had so many layoffs at factories, at automotive factories specifically, because that's what we talk about on this show. It is killing me that they are taking away our ability to, you know, maintain a successful and fruitful life by just getting rid of these jobs. And we understand the motivation, but what we have to look at is that they're using factors that really aren't the main reasons that these jobs are going away. We have to understand that there are facilitating ways to make these plants more efficient, make these plants more workable with less employees. And how are they doing that? AI. AI is taking over. AI, aka Skynet, is taking over. And now let's face it. Let's even think about it in another way. The fact that, you know, the world was under this idea that the majority of the roads would be covered in EV vehicles, what was that based on? It was based off of analytics. What does analytics come from? They come from computers. What in computers creates these analytics? It's the AI systems. So these AI systems spit out all these factors and all these connotations and let us know that, hey, if you did this, this, and this, then by 2029 or 2030, then every vehicle on our roads would be EV vehicles. Every vehicle on our road would be run probably and more than likely by AI. Now, why would AI analytics tell you that? Because, I mean, it would be very beneficial for AI and analytics to have all these EV vehicles on the road. And, you know, and a lot of people like me who are car guys, we understand how the automotive industry works because we've spent our majority of our lives in it. We understood that the EV revolution would be very slow. The EV revolution would have to be very slow because we just don't have the infrastructure to maintain a majority of people on the roads with just EV vehicles because of the distances that they travel, because of the cost for these vehicles to be on the roads, and for the fact that we still don't have a concrete idea of how these vehicles would react on our roads over a course of a certain amount of years. We've already seen extreme battery degradation in these vehicles. We've already seen fires starting from the battery systems on cars because they got wet. You could burn up in one of these cars and not be able to even get out of it. And these are the factors that are causing people to step back from EVs. Hey, hold on. Wait a minute. My gas powered Buick ain't got all these problems. I ain't got to hook that thing up to my house and run up my electric bill so it can run down the road 10 blocks and run out of battery power. We all understood this. We love EVs. I'm not going to sit here and act like we don't love EVs. They're really nice cars. They have the latest technology. They have the latest innovative things that we like. But for us, they're not completely functional to the point where they could be our everyday drivers for every person. Not for every person. There's a lot of people can have an EV for an everyday driver, but just not everybody. Specifically not in this climate, with everybody losing jobs. You know what the major thing that's going to happen with all these people losing their jobs? Most of these people who have lost these jobs, they were living extremely close to where they worked. Probably bought their homes close to where they work, because when they were working these jobs, they were making good money. They were deciding that this was the kind of money I need to raise a good family. So probably bought their home fairly close to their job. Probably bought their cars from the local dealership. And now, and what happens is that, and this is what really hurts me, because I went through this. Not exactly through it to the point where I was an employee that was at a place that crashed and died, but I was an employee at a place called Otis Elevator back in southern Indiana. Put it southern Indiana. It's Otis Elevators, okay? And it closed. And now, let me rephrase. I was not working for Otis Elevator. I worked for ASI Security. I was a security guard. I was in college at the time. So I was a security guard. It was my early days of working, at security at that point, and I was in college at the time. So, it wasn't a major job for me. It was a different time, okay? It was a major different time for me, okay? And what happened was, of course, Otis Elevator closed down, and Otis Elevator had, about 500 employees. And what happens when a factory like that closes down? It doesn't just destroy the factory. It doesn't just destroy the employees that work there. It destroys the whole area around it. The whole area around it. Because that factory, you have to understand that these factories, a lot of the Walmarts that are right by these factories, the mom and pop shops, the mom and pop diners, the gas stations, all these small entities that pretty much popped up because of this factory being in this location. See, and it's specifically for Otis Elevator. Otis Elevator was on this main road, and it was weird because on this main road it was a lot of restaurants and shops, a little convalescent center, a laundromat, a corner store. All these was right there on that road. They're all gone now. Absolutely, utterly gone. All the mom and pop shops, all the laundromats, all of these places that lived off of the people who worked at this factory are gone. And that's what happens to these places with these factories that lose these massive amount of employees. It's not just a dire situation for the factory itself. It's a dire situation for the city around it. That's why the young mayor was talking the way she was talking. She understood that the Ultimum Sales plant closing is going to affect the whole area around it. And then I understand now that I think about it, I understand why she wants to make sure that the data centers or any other companies that come into this place are going to be there for the long run. Because that's the problem. They lost all kinds of jobs when the GM plant there closed in 2019. The Ultimum Sales plant didn't even bring back all of the employees that they lost back in 2019, but it brought 550 employees, that had jobs, good paying jobs. And I'll bet cash money they wouldn't get paid the same as they was when they were working on the GM plant. And that's the whole dire situation of all these layoffs, and they're so massive and they're so destroying to so many people. I'm sorry, I'm going on a diatribe, my friends. I've been sick for the last couple of days, and I haven't been able to talk a lot. So today you're gonna get a lot of talking. All right, so one more, or not one more. We're gonna hit two more. So not only is GM hitting massive layoffs with several of its locations, specifically based around the EV industry, Amazon decided it was going to do massive layoffs as well. And not only Amazon, but there's been layoffs from Amazon, UPS, just pretty much major places everywhere. So we're just going to head over to Valuetainment. Check out these cats over Valuetainment. This is one of the shows I really love. He does a great story about the automotive industry and how the automotive industry is pricing out people. So I'm going to do that here soon. But let's check out Valuetainment as they talk about all of the layoffs. All of it. And this is a long video, so we're probably not going to watch the whole video. And I'm probably going to let y'all get up out of here after this because I am getting tired.
Layoffs. Amazon, 14,000 jobs. UPS already this year, 48,000 jobs. Rivian, 600,000 jobs. Check slashes 45% of workforce, blames new realities of AI. Meta, layoffs. Amazon, another 30,000. Target, 1,800. Rob, I think you got some of the...
Why now? Why now, guys? Why right before the holiday season? Is there a reason that they doing this shit right before the holiday season? Do you think they have to do it right before the holiday season? What is the pertinence to doing it right before these people are going to need money for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, for New Year's? Why do you have to do it now? Why couldn't you wait after the first of the year? You cannot tell me that you have to do it right now. You cannot tell me that it is mandatory that you let all these people not go without pay in some of the most important months of their lives. We're talking about winter months. Winter weather for some people in the Midwest or other parts of the world that snow. This is a massive, massive problem, and why is it happening now?
The videos on this one. Why don't we play the UPS one, 48,000 for the year so far. When you're seeing these types of things, we talked about this briefly yesterday. To the average person, this looks like, oh my God, this is horrible. Look at all this stuff that's going on. Go ahead and play this clip, Rob.
Also new tonight, UPS has announced that they've cut 48,000 jobs so far this year. That announcement made on their quarterly call this morning. The company said their 2025 revenue is more than $21 billion. But that's partly because they've consolidated to create what they call a more efficient operating model. 14,000 workers were primarily on the management level. On top of that, they reduced their operational workforce by about 34,000 positions and closed daily operations at 93 sites.
Tom, this looks bad, but is it really bad? What's going on here?
No, this is natural. And what's happening natural, I'll give you 3 points on it. Point number one,
natural?
We are having a pretty good economic year. Wall Street's having a good...
Did he just say natural? What does he mean by natural? Man, let's hear this fool out.
Good year. And when you come to the end of the year, what do? You make budgets. Your company make budgets. You require everybody to take a look at it and to bring you their ideas, their thoughts, their creativity for next year. And what are we going to budget? What are we going to not? And a lot of companies are discovering, look, UPS is competing with Amazon, if you want to think of it that way. And every time Amazon automates a warehouse, UPS has to cover. It's like sailing. You have to cover the tack. You have to cover what your competitor's doing. So number one, the layoffs are coming as they realize these efficiencies, and then they're going to return that profit to the shareholders. That's what's happening, point one. Point two, we're in a transition in America. There's more efficiency happening as AI happening. And I'd like to go, Rob, can you go to the link I gave you? We used it last week. Let's take a look now. And Bill, also want to know what you think about this. Take a look at this. What's going on here right now, these layoffs are the responsibility of the Democrats that have inhibited the progress on the president's president's agenda. And before you tell me, oh, you're just all pro-Trump, go look at this. Look at the trillions of dollars in investments that are happening in the United States. These are new jobs, new manufacturing that were being held up by Congress, that were being held up because people like Chuck Schumer are getting in the way of the president's agenda. The president's trying to encourage companies to build factories with new jobs, tomorrow's jobs here, so that as UPS gets more efficient and they lay off jobs for this, there's places for the American worker to go. And so I put this at the feet of the Democrats, who are, by the way, the Democrats have their own unions yelling at them, saying, oh, what happened to my job? I'm the union, supported you during the election. Where's our jobs going? And so you got the unions actually harping at the Democrats, which is a fun irony. But what's happening with these layoffs, the market likes to see cost consolidation. So the stock market goes up and companies are making layoffs in the name of efficiency and things. But the president's agenda to bring more jobs to America and $1.5 trillion of investment just since March of this year. The total number is bigger. It's like 5-6 trillion over 5 years. So I see the two-sided coin here, and I think the Dems need to get out of his way because the Trump effect is happening, and these people need new jobs as America evolves forward. And yes, AI is a part of it, but AI is not a villain.
Bill, your thoughts? With all these layoffs?
I think that 2026 is going to be huge. I think it's going to be huge. I think obviously these jobs matter, but I think people are underestimating what GDP and what growth will be next year.
Brandon.
Yeah, no, this is such a normal thing. Every 100 years, like 50% of the job market gets wiped out by new disruptive technology. You know, it happened with agriculture in the 1800s. Like 90% of the workforce got wiped out. They went into skill trades. Then the Industrial Revolution happens. Then it wipes out the skill trades. Then computers come along. It wipes out the industrial factory jobs. So, you know, like every 100 years, a new disruptive technology comes out, wipes out half the job market, and then people get jobs they didn't even realize that were going to be needed in the future. So we're not even imagining the jobs that are going to be created. People are thinking it's going to have to be UBI or something, but no, I think we're going to have a whole new job market that we're not even fathoming right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, like Tom said earlier, if some of these companies, as they're coming into the fourth quarter, they're cutting the cost to show up. You know, you see, we just laid off this many people. Boom. You know, stock valuation goes up for the last quarter to have a strong finish ending to it. I don't see these stories slowing down the next couple months. I think we're going to hear a couple more of these stories, Tom, coming up. So if you think this is a big deal, I think there's more announcements.
These companies are not in trouble. These companies are actually surging.
Yesterday.
That's the problem. See, that's my problem. How are you going to sit here and tell me that these companies are not having problems and they're surging, but they're laying people off? It's stupid. I mean, okay. You want to tell us about the fourth quarter and the market situation and, you know, how the stocks is going to rise after they state that they're going to let all these people go. That as true as that is still very hurtful to the American people. As true as that is, it is extremely hurtful to these American people who are losing their jobs. Now, you say that 2026 is going to be great. I agree with all of these situations that y'all just spanned out. I agree that 2026, as long as Congress doesn't hold up all these great opportunities that Trump has brought along, and all these things come true. If all these things come true, and 2026 is fantastic, and it has so much job growth and so much job opportunity, I am going to be all for it. But the fact of the matter is even those companies that Trump is bringing in are going to have to initiate bringing in AI and create more efficiency with AI to the point where they're going to have less positions available for a lot of people who have already lost their jobs. And there's going to be a major amount of people who are not going to be able to get these positions, to the point where we're going to still have a situation where we're going to almost get rid of the middle class, and there's going to be a whole bunch of poor people who are going to be struggling, and we're going to turn into Canada.
We're sitting in a meeting, guys. We're preparing for the podcast. And Tom starts talking about all these companies are laying people off. And I look at the people sitting in the room. I'm like, Tom, are you threatening the people sitting in front of you? Are you threatening people? What are you telling people right now what's going on and why it's a good decision? You see Humberto panicking. He's got like sweat dropping because of all the stuff that's going on in Chile. But I think Humberto's going to be okay. I think he's going to be okay. I don't want to.
It's not a good idea. You know, I love this show, but the fact is that, you know, it's you cannot be a person for the people and say that, you know, layoffs are a good thing. Not if they're for AI, not if they're for efficiency, not if they're to raise your stock. Layoffs because of AI is layoffs for any reason are hurtful to the people who are getting laid off. That is the main thing that I am talking about. And it's there's no way that you cannot see the Skynet presence of this whole situation, guys. You cannot misconstrue the fact that AI is coming in and making jobs more efficient. All jobs are being made more efficient with AI, which means that nurses there'll be a less of a need. Well, I won't say a less of a need. Specifically nursing, AI is going to make that job extremely more efficient. AI is going to make a lot of jobs extremely more efficient. But what we worry about is the efficiency leading to less employment opportunities for people who need jobs. I mean, we're reaching a point, guys, where you just literally have to create your own work. You have to be entrepreneurs. That's the kind of world we're living in now. You have to turn into a place where you keep a 9 to 5. Definitely, if you can, if you're willing, and if you went to college for it and all these types of things, keep yourself a 9 to 5, okay? If you can. But the way to go is entrepreneurship. You have to get away from these companies and their desire to control if you have or don't have employment. If you do or you don't have the money to pay for Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's Eve or Halloween for that matter. Because big companies don't care about the little man. Let's face it. They don't care. They understand that you need jobs. They understand that you need money. And they need employees to do certain things. But Skynet, aka AI, is taking over to the point where they're going to need a lot less of you to work. A lot less of you to work. And what's going to happen, guys? We're going to lose out on massive amounts of jobs. Look at all these jobs that have been lost. Amazon, UPS, GM, all based off of the fact that Skynet is here. So get used to it, guys. Definitely get used to it, because AI is not going away. AI is the future. You have to get into it. You have to make it part of your system and use it to your advantage, or it's going to run over you and you're going to be one of them cats that's poor with robots walking around you asking you if everything's okay. All right, I'm gonna let y'all get up out of here. I need some hot tea to fix this throat, but I love y'all and I appreciate y'all for tuning into my show. My name is Chris Surratt. I do the Car Concierge show. I'd appreciate it if you like, share, subscribe to the show. And let's understand, guys, that, man, I know a lot of you people are out there hurting, getting laid off. It's time to find a world where you can get paid and not work for a big corporation. Because, let's face it, big corporations are letting us go left and right. And we're going to need money to survive. So, do what you have to do to survive. Peace.